All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Danielle. I'm the National Director of Volunteer and Community Engagement here at Breakthrough T1D. And on behalf of everyone at Breakthrough T1D, welcome to our Let's Talk Education series. We created this series to help answer some of the most pressing questions about life with T1D, and we're so glad that you're here. Tonight, we're going to focus on heading back to school with type 1 diabetes. And whether it's your child's first year at school or you're working with a new administration, we know this is a transition that can bring stress and anxiety. And so we'll share some practical guidance related to common questions. The presentation tonight will be about 30 minutes, followed by lots of time for questions. And so a few housekeeping and technical items. You can use the chat feature, and through there, you can answer or ask any questions, and we'll answer as many as we can during the live Q&A. And just give me a second here. And so that's located at the top of your screen. And I will say, if you are watching this, it's much better viewed on a desktop or laptop than it is through mobile. If you do have any technical challenges, please email connection@breakthrought1d.ca and we'll do our best to help. We're also trying something new tonight. After the formal session, we're going to open up a breakout room so you're able to connect informally with others and ask Miriam any additional questions. So bear with us while we do try to get the technical component of that right. And the session is being recorded and it will be shared after this session. And so we know that these conversations can touch on the realities of life with type 1. And if you feel overwhelmed at any point, please take care of yourself, and including stepping away if needed. And so I am incredibly pleased tonight to introduce our speaker, Miriam Dos Anjos. Miriam is a passionate community builder and a proud mom of a T1D warrior. And she brings both professional experience as well as lived experience to her work, creating meaningful connections and empowering volunteers supporting families living with type 1. And I'd also like to thank and acknowledge Diabetes at School, who have generously provided materials for tonight's session. Diabetes at School is a resource for families, schools, and caregivers to help school-aged children with 3 goals: safety, support, and success. And I will add their web link in the chat. And so now, without further ado, Miriam, I would love to pass it over to you.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to go over some session goals. We're going to learn how to prepare for back to school when your child has type 1 diabetes. We're going to learn where to find resources to help you and your child prepare for school, learn how to anticipate and solve common problems, and we're going to share experience, questions, and successes. Next slide, please. This is my son, Mason. He was diagnosed when he was 16 months old. He was a sick little guy. And to the very far right of the screen is Mason now. He is 13. He is entering grade 8. Next slide, please. I'd like to acknowledge the professional groups that are with and behind Diabetes at School: the Canadian Pediatric Society, CPEG, which is the Canadian Pediatric Endocrine Group, and Diabetes Canada. Next slide. These recommendations come from medical experts in diabetes care. These 2 important Canadian resources help guide how students living with type 1 diabetes should be supported at school. The Canadian Pediatric Society, together with the Canadian Pediatric Endocrine Group, provide recommendations for the safe and appropriate management of type 1 diabetes in the school setting. Diabetes Canada's guidelines for the care of students living with diabetes at school provide additional practical guidance for families, school staff, and healthcare providers. Next slide. School is all about balance, keeping students with T1D safe while allowing them to simply be kids. They need support and vigilance from staff who understand type 1 diabetes and also recognize that safety comes first. At the same time, Kids really want to just fit in. They don't want diabetes to define their school experience. Think kid first, T1D second. Include them, encourage independence, and avoid unnecessarily singling them out. The goal here is to create a school environment where students with T1D feel safe, supported, included, and most importantly, understood. Next slide. This is an incredible YouTube video that's going to go in the chat about type 1 diabetes rights and responsibilities. I'm not going to share this right now, but you can look at it on your own time. Next slide. Some expert recommendations. The goal is to ensure students with type 1 diabetes are safe, supported, and able to fully participate in school. Every student should have an individual care plan that clearly outlines their specific diabetes needs. Schools should identify at least 2 trained staff members who can provide diabetes support when needed. Students need the freedom to check blood sugar, treat lows, and eat snacks anytime and anywhere. As we know, diabetes does not follow any schedule. All staff should know how to recognize and respond to a low blood sugar, including emergency situations. Appropriate accommodations for tests and exams should be available when diabetes impacts a student's ability to perform. Glucagon must be accessible with trained staff who know when and how to administer it. The 3 key areas of support are insulin administration, blood sugar monitoring, and emergency management. Ultimately, these recommendations help students manage their diabetes safely while allowing them to focus on learning and being a student. Next slide. What are our responsibilities? Communication. Connect with the school early and keep communication ongoing. Meet with the principal, teacher, and key staff so everyone understands your child's needs and their role in supporting them. A care plan. Make sure there is a clear, up-to-date diabetes care plan in place. Use your school or board's template first or resources from Diabetes at School and review it whenever your child needs change. Training. Identify who needs to be trained and what they need to know. Not every staff member needs the same level of training, but everyone responsible for your child should know how to recognize and respond to urgent situations. Supplies. Ensure the school has enough clearly labeled diabetes supplies, including fast-acting treatment for lows, and know where the supplies are kept, who can access them, and how they will be replenished. This is a partnership between families and the school. Being proactive, prepared, and keeping communication open can help everyone feel more confident and, most importantly, help your child feel safe and supported while at school. Next slide, please. There are many factors that can affect the school experience. Every child's school experience with type 1 diabetes will look different. A newly diagnosed student may need more reassurance and hands-on support than someone who has lived with T1D for several years. Age and developmental stage affect how much responsibility a child can safely manage independently. Insulin routines vary, including injections, pumps, and different monitoring schedules. Technology can be extremely helpful, but students still need reliable internet access, charged devices, and knowledgeable staff. The school's experience, available resources, and comfort with diabetes care can greatly affect a family's confidence. Parents' work schedules, availability, and access to resources also influence the level of support possible. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. The goal is safety, flexible plan tailored to each student. Next slide, please. Back to school checklist. Start early by connecting with principal and key staff who will support your child throughout the day. Review your school board or provincial diabetes policy so you understand the supports available. Complete or update your child's individual care plan with clear instructions for daily care and emergencies. Ensure school staff receive diabetes training and know where to access trusted resources. Prepare and clearly label all diabetes supplies, including extra low treatments and backup supplies. Agree on how and when the school will communicate with you and include these details in the care plan. Involve your child in the planning process in an age-appropriate way to help build confidence and independence. Share essential information with others involved in the school day, such as bus drivers and before or after school staff. Check in after the first week to see what is working and adjust the plan as needed. The goal again is for your child to feel safe, supported, and fully included in every part of their school day. Next slide, please. An individual care plan. An individual care plan is essential for every student living with type 1 diabetes and should be completed with the family and school. It gives school staff clear, personalized instructions for supporting the student safely throughout their day. The plan outlines when blood sugar should be checked and how to recognize and treat both low and high blood sugar. It includes insulin instructions, as well as guidance for meals, snacks, physical activity, field trips, and emergencies. Because every student's diabetes needs are different, the plan should be reviewed and updated each school year or whenever their care changes. Most importantly, all staff supporting the student should know where the plan and emergency supplies are kept and feel confident following the instructions you've laid out. Depending on your province or school board, this may be called an individual care plan, plan of care, or an individual education plan, IEP. Start by checking with your school board to understand the process and requirements in the province you live. Complete the plan with your child's school and healthcare team before the first day of school whenever possible. Again, the plan provides personalized instructions for blood sugar checks, treating lows and highs, insulin, meals, snack, and physical activity. Review it every year and whenever your child's diabetes care or needs change. Again, ensure all staff working with your child understand this plan and know where emergency supplies are kept. Next slide, please. What may not be in the plan? Some practical details may not appear in the formal school plan, so discuss them directly with school staff. Agree on how carbohydrate counts will be shared for snacks and lunches, such as labels, notes, or even a communication notebook. Plan ahead for field trips, special events involving food, and changes to the regular active schedule. Ensure supply teachers can easily access and understand your child's diabetes plan, routine, and emergency procedures. Clear communication helps everyone feel prepared and keeps your child safe and included. Next slide, please. These two documents are absolutely incredible that may help school staff better understand non-standard situations. They focus on some of the whys behind what is in the plan, and help convey the message that is planning and collaboration. Students with diabetes don't have to miss out on anything that is happening at school. And these two resources are also found at Diabetes at School, and they will go in the link. Next slide, please. All school staff need to know how to recognize and treat a low blood sugar. These high and low infographics are available on Diabetes at School and should be part of your teaching kit. Encourage your principal to post them in the staff room, gym, and other high traffic locations. Next slide, please. Training and education. Parents are often the ones doing the training, mostly because clinics do not have capacity. This may be different depending on where you are. If your school insists on medical training, Diabetes at School has many training resources and has been produced by diabetes experts, including physicians and nurses. It has 3 levels of information depending on how much the person needs to know. School staff need different information depending on the extent of contact they will have with your child. The gym teacher may need different information from the classroom teacher or a teacher who is only with your child once a week. Ensure that people have what they need. Too much information can also be very overwhelming. The info on Diabetes at School can also be used for before and after school staff, bus drivers, and so on. Even a couple of videos can provide a person with what they need to know without overwhelming them. Next slide, please. There's a course that is 1 hour on Diabetes at School, and it is a good review for your school to watch before your specific in-person meeting for your child's safety. This talks about diabetes in general and guidance. Now, not all school admin will want to watch it, but it's something that you can offer. Next slide, please. Tailor the training. Think about the role that a particular staff member has with regard to your child and provide them with information appropriate to that role. A classroom teacher who spends all day with your child has different information needs than a phys ed teacher who sees your child maybe 3 times, 2 times a week, always in the context of activity. This document, along with some information on lows, may be all you need to provide with them on the onset. Again, all of these resources are at Diabetes at School. Next slide, please. Supplies. The picture on the screen is my kits that I use for my son. The top 2 pictures are what is in the office, and the bottom 2 pictures is what is in his classroom. Keep diabetes supplies in multiple easy-to-access locations throughout the school. Each kit should include blood sugar testing equipment, fast-acting sugar for lows, carbohydrate snacks, and parent contact information. Depending on the student's care plan, additional supplies may include backup insulin, extra batteries, glucagon, and ketone testing equipment. Please check kits regularly and replace any used or expired items. Ensure staff know where the kits are stored and that supplies remain accessible to students at all times. For my son, I also had a little backpack with some sugar low treatments and a glucagon and a glucometer, and it was actually by the door to the classroom. In the event there was a fire drill, a fire alarm, that the teacher or my son could grab quickly, because if they're outside and they have a low, they can't go back inside. So that's also something else to think about, is a small little kit that you can grab and go if you need it. Next slide, please. Technology. Diabetes technology, such as continuous glucose monitor and insulin pumps, can help students manage their blood sugar throughout the school day. Each device works differently, so school staff should understand that students' specific technology and individualized care plan. CGMs provide ongoing glucose readings and alerts, but symptoms should never be ignored. If symptoms do not match the CGM reading, confirm with a finger poke. Insulin pumps deliver insulin throughout the day, but students may still need support with bolusing, troubleshooting, and responding to alerts. Technology is a valuable tool, but it does not replace attentive, trained support from school staff. This also includes MDI, which is multiple daily injections, another way to administer insulin. Visiting diabetes at school for current guides and resources on CGMs and insulin pumps. These resources, again, are there as well, and they're printable. Next slide, please. Involving children in diabetes management. Children can be involved in their diabetes care at every age, but their responsibilities should reflect their developmental stage, not just their age. The goal is to build confidence and independence gradually while ensuring children continue to receive the supervision and support they need. For preschool and kindergarten age children, involvement may include wearing their medical ID bracelet, choosing a finger for a blood check, and learning to recognize how a low blood sugar feels. Young children are naturally curious and may ask many, many questions. Using simple language and short, clear instructions can help them understand what is happening. Early school-age children can begin learning basic skills such as recognizing lows, understanding that food contains carbohydrates, and helping with injections or pump boluses with adult supervision. Children at this age can be forgetful or very easily distracted. Even when they appear capable, they still need reminders and active oversight. Middle school age children can become more involved by checking their blood sugar, treating lows, participating in injections or pump boluses, and making food choices according to their care plan. Fitting in with friends becomes increasingly important at this stage. Families and school staff should support diabetes care in a way that protects the child's privacy and helps them feel included. Independence should be introduced one step at a time. A child may manage one task confidently while still needing help with the others. School staff should never assume that a child can manage diabetes independently simply because they understand the steps or can operate their device. Adults remain responsible for confirming that diabetes tasks are completed safely, including ensuring meals and snacks are eaten and responding appropriately to highs and lows. Diabetes care should feel like a partnership, not a test. Encourage effort, celebrate progress, and avoid blame when something does not go as planned. The ultimate goal is to help children develop the knowledge, the skills, and confidence to manage their diabetes safely over time while knowing they are never alone. Next slide, please. Relationship and mutual benefits. Managing type 1 diabetes at school may look different from how it is managed at home, and that's okay. School routines need to balance the students' medical needs with the realities of a classroom. A strong relationship between families and school staff begins with open, respectful communication. Approach conversations as a partnership and ask, "What do you need from me to help support my child?" Parents and caregivers bring valuable knowledge about their child, while educators understand the school environment. Working together allows us to create practical solutions that support everyone. Clear information and appropriate training help teachers feel prepared and confident. Education can reduce fear, correct misconceptions about T1D, and ensure staff know how to respond safely. When making a request, explain how it supports the student's success, not only medically, but socially and academically. Keep the conversation focused on 3 shared goals. Safety. Ensure the student's health needs are recognized and addressed promptly. Support. Give the student and school staff the tools they need to succeed. And inclusion. Allowing the student to participate fully without being singled out or excluded. The goal is a respectful, collaborative relationship where families, educators, and students all feel heard, informed, and supported. Next slide, please. When problems get too big, advocacy. Sometimes, despite everyone's best efforts, challenges at school can become more serious or remain unresolved. This is when advocacy becomes especially important. Start by becoming familiar with the policies and procedures that protect students living with type 1 diabetes. Knowing what should be happening will help you identify where support may be falling short. Keep clear records of incidents, conversations, and agreed upon actions. Whenever possible, follow up a verbal conversation with an email so there is written record. Begin with the person closest to the situation, usually the teacher, educational assistant, or another school staff member. If the concern is not resolved, move through the appropriate chain of communication, principal, school board, staff, and if necessary, your elected school board trustee. Try to stay calm, clear, and solution focused. Explain the concern, how it affects your child's safety or ability to participate safely at school, and what specific resolution you are requesting. Consider whether the issue is unique to your child or part of a larger school or board-wide concern. Connecting with other families can help you understand whether others have experienced similar challenges. Online parenting communities, including Support Ontario students with T1D, Dialed Into Diabetes, and Parents of Type 1 Diabetes Canada, can provide practical advice and shared experience. Additional support is also available through organizations such as Diabetes Hope Foundation, Breakthrough T1D, and I Challenge Diabetes. Most importantly, please remember that advocating does not mean being difficult. You are helping ensure your child is safe, included, and fully supported in their education. Next slide, please. Diabetes in school has a lot of very many useful resources. They help the school staff feel empowered, assuring them that the information has been created by credible organizations and is national in scope. It represents the best of what we know about good care for our kids with T1D in school. Again, I'm not sure, Danielle has probably posted the link to the rights and responsibilities video. It's a very good video to watch. Next slide, please. And I would like to thank you for joining us this evening.
And of course, even after years, guys, I'm on mute. So thank you so much, Miriam, for this information and for presenting tonight. Really appreciate it. So if anyone has any questions in the chat, this is a great time to ask them there. And I'll go through. There was a question that was answered, but just so everyone can see it, a question was answered, is the school responsible for providing glucagon?
No. That should be part of your kit. They should be trained and be aware of how to administer glucagon, but the school is not responsible for supporting or for providing. But I would also check with your provincial policies and school board policies because it could vary.
Okay. And another question was asked, is it appropriate to ask teachers to follow Dexcom on their personal phone?
It goes against a lot of their collective agreements. What I did personally is I had an old phone. Originally, I started with an iPad in JK, and I provided an old phone that had the Dexcom app on it so they could look at it. It's just I was helping them because technically they don't have to. So if you can make it easier for them, they're going to be more willing to um, help you with that.
Okay, wonderful. And so there was a note from Eliza, and we will check this out and update. She does not think that the Alberta Kids at School Facebook group exists anymore. So thank you. We appreciate that update. There are many, many Type 1 parent Facebook groups out there generally, though, as well, with a ton of great experience. And so, Miriam, just in general, as a question, if you were speaking to someone who was newly diagnosed and perhaps this was their first year that they are going to school with their child now diagnosed as type 1, what would you say to them in that first year?
Give yourself grace. It's not going to be perfect. Um, like the presentation stated, set a meeting with the principal, go over your concerns, your care plan. It's not, again, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be challenges, but type 1 diabetes isn't perfect. So you'll learn to find your new normal. Um, School starts in a week for me, for my son, and I've been doing this. He's going into grade 8, and I still have a little bit of nervousness and anxiety about it because it's a new year, it's new teachers, but it always works out. So always give yourself grace.
Excellent advice. And on that note, when you're connecting with your kiddos and they are getting ready, they're excited, they're ready to go to school, what can you do to help them abate any nervousness that they might have?
With the kids starting school, open communication. Um, I've asked, and some school boards, again, you're going to have to check with your provincial policies and your school boards. Usually, when I've gone in to speak to the principal, the teacher has wanted to meet me. And then I brought Mason in. Again, not all teachers can do this because technically they don't have to start until the first day of school. Um, but I brought Mason into the school to see, he got a feel. He was able to ask the principal questions because the principal won't have a problem meeting with both of you because they're meeting with you. And it just gave a little bit more comfort. Um, you could also check again with your school policies to see if you can do check-ins. Sometimes kids can go home for lunch. I don't know, some families that does not work for them, some it does. Um, I know there's a no phone policy, but that does not apply to type 1 because that is a medical device. But that does not mean they can sit and text you if they're of the age, because then that can be a problem unless it's due to type 1 management.
Great. And a couple more questions in the chat. My daughter is starting JK. What would be the easiest way to get them to see her levels during recess?
Hmm. They're running around, they're excited. But in JK, they're also in a smaller area. Um, Depending on the teacher, if they are willing to look at the Dexcom or do a finger poke, whichever, um, do it before they go outside. Perhaps in your care plan, you can ask that they have a look at the Dexcom or assist the child with doing a finger poke because they are not allowed, per their collective bargaining agreement, to do a finger poke. So then you know where they are. Um, you know your child. If your child is at a certain number and they're going to be doing all sorts of activities, um, how would that happen at home? Would they drop at home? Should perhaps you give a little extra snack before they go outside? Again, this is all things that you can talk with your care team about as well, your clinic, and see what they think. And at the end of the day, you know your child best.
Great. And where should the Omnipod pump controller be stored at school?
Depends on the age, right? Most kids, um, I mean, Mason started wearing his fanny pack that had his phone and that has all of his things on them. Um, you can get them small enough. The Lululemon has a little one, and you can just stick the Omnipod controller, and it goes around their shoulder as a sling. It can go around their waist. If they're in JK, maybe there can be a spot on the teacher's desk. Again, these are things that you could work out with the teacher and see how comfortable they felt with having that there. But again, if it gets knocked off the desk and it gets broken, so I mean, personally, I always had my son wear his things, um, and he still does.
Great. And we have a comment from Heather, and this goes back to your comment about grace. She said, most teachers and staff do not know anything about type 1.
Mhm.
So, yes, give yourself and the teachers grace.
And
And
I think another thing, if you're going into school as a newly diagnosed, depending on the age and stage, um, you can also talk to the teacher. And for Mason, I would do a little presentation to the class where Mason would stand up if they're comfortable. It also depends on your child. And very basic. There's some really good books out there. Um, I don't know them off the top of my head, but I've got them all upstairs. I still have them. And Mason would actually stand up with me and I would talk to the students and the kids about diabetes. And Mason would show his pump or his Dexcom. Um, and it just made it not normal, if that makes sense. So it was more accepting and more understanding. And in the presentation, Mason and I would say, I'm going to beep. I'm okay, but I'm going to beep. So it's because if you have a bunch of little kids and they're running around and they're hearing these beeps and they're like, what is going on? And it can be a little unsettling. But if you talk about it right from the beginning, it's not. Mason did presentations in his class up until grade 6. Now he doesn't want to do it. And most of the kids have been with him all along. So now they understand, they know. But again, it also depends on the level of comfortable you are with your child. I Challenge Diabetes also does an in-school kind of presentation with your child, and you can reach out to them directly. I've had them a couple of times as well.
thank you. Okay. Are teachers or EAs allowed to assist a child with inputting carbs into the Omnipod pump controller? Thinking specifically around special times like birthday treats that are not provided as nutrition break time. And this would be for a 6-year-old.
That I would check with your school because, again, technically, they are not permitted to be putting things in. They can watch. They can, if you're provided with, or if they're providing you with the carb count, you can advise them, okay, this is maybe 20 carbs. This is what you need to put in. But a teacher or a EA technically is not allowed per their collective bargaining agreement in Ontario. Again, you'll have to check with your provincial guidelines and the school boards where your child resides. But in Ontario, they are not permitted to. You may have a teacher that does it, but it's against their collective bargaining agreement in Ontario.
We have a couple comments. Leanna said that their ECE held onto their daughter's phone during recess, and now she's able to have a fanny pack that stays on her. And Betty mentions that she said, thank you for all of the information and that it's a lot to learn for a new type 1, which for
Yes.
sure.
And again,
Yeah.
Betty, grace. One thing at a time. And it is overwhelming and it is nerve-wracking but it's going to be okay. It just one step in front of the other.
Great. And here's another great comment from
Mhm.
Heather. Many admins may request that an Omnipod controller be kept in the office, and it's not possible. And that
Mhm.
speaks again to education of admin and could possibly even require escalation to superintendents.
Again, that is part of diabetes tech in school. So it is their right. And I believe that video may touch on it. They are allowed to have their diabetes tech with them. That's just like saying a child needs to go to the bathroom to give their insulin. Not happening. A child can give their insulin wherever they are. They do not need to go to another room.
Okay. And so why does the Omnipod controller need to be kept on the child? Can it just be kept in the classroom if they're in the same classroom all day?
It could. It could be kept in their backpack if their backpack is in proximity. Depends if they are looping. I know that Omnipod also you can bolus from the phone. So it depends on which version of Omnipod they have.
And a comment from Judy. In Ontario, there's Ontario Health at Home who
Mhm.
may provide a school nurse who visits at nutrition break times to help with blood glucose checks and insulin and talk to your diabetes clinic about this.
Mhm.
And also connect the schools with CERT. They might provide additional support. Okay, well, thank you again, Miriam. This was incredibly informative. And so, just before I end the formal portion tonight, I'd like to thank everyone again for joining. And we hope that you leave with some practical tools to support the year ahead. And thank you again to Diabetes at School for their expertise. Again, Miriam, for sharing your experience and wisdom, and to all the donors who make conversations like this possible. And if you'd like to bring more programs and educational resources like this to Canadians living with type 1, please consider supporting Breakthrough T1D. Every donation supports research, advocacy, and programming that brings us closer to cures. And so thank you again. We have a couple more questions, and then just so everyone knows what we're going to try, as I mentioned, we are going to try a breakout room, and this would be an informal area where everyone can share. You can get your mic back and you can share on camera. So if you wanted to, you can leave the formal presentation, or if you wanted to stay and chat and connect further, you're welcome to do so. And I will just one last question here in this group before we go to the breakout room. Any suggestions for having the school follow through with pre-bolusing?
Hmm, that's a tough one. I'd have to think about that one because that's you can pre-bolus at home before you drop them off, depending on when they're eating, depending on their lunch schedule, depending on their recess schedule. That's something I would discuss with your clinic and see how they feel about that.
Okay, great. Well, this concludes the formal portion. I'm going to stop the recording. And again, if you wish to stay and continue the chat in our breakout room, and thank you all again so much for attending this evening. We really appreciate your time and the expertise of Miriam and Diabetes at School.